Hoodies, welcome to the podcast. And y'all ass, what I'ma talk about with y'all ass? Everything from Nostradamus, slow pump, all the way down to Donald Trump. But black issues will be always at the forefront. Hoodies, I know that's just what y'all want. Black life, black love, all of the above. It's King Rashidi, hoodies, isotone the gloves. I'm ready, it's Rod Scott Kings. Rest in peace to the God Queens, hoodies.
Yo, what's poppin'? Yo, once again, I am King Rashidi, and welcome to another episode of Hoodies, the podcast. You know what I'm saying? Episode 3. Man, want to thank y'all once again for being here. You know how it goes down. I want to give a special shout out to all black people everywhere. Black men, black women, black boys, black girls, and an extra warm shout out to our elders. And they're still here being encouragers, being people who's passing off that wisdom. Man, I love our elders. In layman's terms, I love old people. Not the mean old people, but there's a lot of things you can still learn from them. The old people, you stepping on my feet.
Facts.
You know, but I love our elders for their wisdom and their patience with us, because we're still learning. So yeah, let's give it up for our elders, man. You know what I mean? Today's Hoodies podcast is brought to you once again by the Skill Youth Chess Club. Once again, if you'd like to donate to the Skill Youth Chess Club, the site where you can donate is paypal.me/Skill the Barbershop. Also, I'd like to give a special shout out to Thomas Nelson Community College. Thomas Nelson Community College has a program called the African American Male Student Alliance. Okay, they got a project going on to where they will be donating neckties, bow ties. It'll be donated to a project that they're doing. They'll have image consultants from Men's Warehouse that will be showing these young brothers how to project a positive image for interviews, externships, and various other things of that nature. And a young lady hit me up this morning. I'm not necessarily sure if she is a representative. However, she said that she was given my number by a former student there. So Skill will be administering free haircuts to these young brothers, taking place on March 26, 2018. That's actually next Monday. So if you do have some expertise that you'd like to come out and share to these brothers, reach out, man. Again, this program, let me see, is the African American Male Student Alliance. So once again, man, thank y'all for being here. I want to welcome you to another episode of Hoodies, the podcast 3. All right, word up. Without further ado, also I want to introduce a guest in the building. You know what I'm saying? Me and this young brother, we go way back. You know what I mean? I've been knowing this brother since Job Corps.
Yeah.
You know, he was a snot-nosed kid, from Job Corps. Almost 10 years, man.
10 years, yeah.
Watched him grow. I knew right from the beginning this was a young brother with an old soul. We've become extremely good friends. He's like my little brother, man. Yeah. So without further ado, I want to introduce my man, Coolassross.
Oh, man. Thanks for having me. Man. Appreciate it.
Word. So let's get into it. This is heavy, right? Y'all ready? Let's do it. Let me ask you a question. How do we erase racism, white supremacy? How do we erase that? Real quick, let me break down to you as best I can what racism, white supremacy is. Okay. Racism to me, and I believe a lot of people would agree, racism to me is, okay, say I see to it that, say I'm a judge or whatever, and I see to it that everybody of a darker hue will get twice the amount of time of my people. Say I'm a Caucasian judge, by the way. And I choose, and I'm making my personal business to see to it that every young man or woman, for that matter, with a darker hue than mine, which is damn near everybody other than me because I'm white. And I see to it that they get twice the amount of time than my people. That's racism. Because now I've taken, my own personal feelings and I've put some power behind it to fuck you over. Okay, which can in turn affect your family and things of that nature. White supremacy is when the school system is determined to teach our kids improperly in terms of history. That's racism. Anything less than that, like say for example, if somebody white calls you a nigger, jungle bunny, porch monkey, which I've been called all these things. Well, not a jungle bunny, but I've been called a porch monkey, nigger by some white folk before. Right? That right there, and that right there, and that alone, just some words or some shit like that, that's just prejudice. There's a difference between prejudice and racism. Yeah. So for the most part, racism is prejudice plus power. Yeah. If a white person or anybody doesn't have the power to fuck you over, like stop you from getting a loan, or can cause you to not get a job, or something of that nature, if it doesn't do anything but piss you off for a few hours or maybe for a few days, then all that is just prejudice. That's just plain old prejudice. Yeah. Racial prejudice. Now, when somebody can stop you from getting a job, a loan, if someone can stop you from getting into this institution, this institution of higher learning, or things of that nature, then that's racism. That's racism. It's prejudice plus power.
Yeah, affecting your money.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing to it that your people are affected by it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm taking wealth and resources from your communities, forcing your people to have to flip birds because they don't want to go halfway across town for minimum wage. It's systemic. So now, with that said, how do we erase racism, white supremacy?
We can't expect to make or try to make giant leaps. Like, you can't, you can't expect to, jumping 2 feet off the ground to jumping like 20 feet off the ground. You got to start making small.
So you're saying baby steps?
Yeah, baby steps. But what we do, you can't always expect for the whites to always, accept you. I mean, you should know you should self-worth, self-validation. That movie, I can't think of the name. I think it's Bruce Leroy or whatever. And he, throughout the whole movie, he kept trying to find the master.
Oh, you mean The Last Dragon?
Right. And his master had told him, you had looked everywhere except one place, and that's you.
Right.
Even, I forget her name, but even the mistress, she ain't even told him. She ain't even told him. So we gotta start looking in the mirror and finding our own self validation, not from a different race. And that comes from what we've been taught from a youth to a teenager to now an adult.
What do you mean?
Like, basically trying to get sympathy from the whites. Always looking for that handout. We can't be expecting that no more.
Oh, so you're saying it's hard to look at the people as being on the same level.
Yeah,
been on top since forever.
they're never gonna look at us as on the same level.
You know what?
As them.
I actually agree with you right there. I mean, for different reasons, but you're right.
Yeah,
you're right. You're right.
They're never gonna look at us like that. Like, excuse some of my language, but a pimp is never gonna tell a hoe how much he's worth. I mean, pimp's never gonna tell her that. Pimp's never gonna tell her that.
So you saying that, with the Last Dragon analogy,
right?
That whole situation,
right? He was trying to seek. He was trying to seek validation from others when he should have been seeking validation from himself. Right,
that's symbolic because a lot of black people, we do that.
Yeah.
Every time something happens, especially when it's all over social media, the whole nine. Every time something happens, black folk tend to say to other black folk, "Where are our leaders?"
Right.
Where are our leaders? And we're looking far and wide and up in the sky and everywhere.
Yeah.
But we don't turn and look at ourselves in the mirror. Every time I say that to people, they think I'm being corny as fuck. You know what? Something happened Saturday, man. Something happened Saturday. Ron had just rolled out. Shout out to Ron Artist.
Big Ron.
He had just left, and his brother walks in, and he's selling this shit right here. He's selling this right here. Right? You remember how I used to speak about Brother Barack or whatever?
Right.
And then what I came to realize how silly it was to expect, whether he was a brother or not.
Yeah.
So prior to me coming to that conclusion, dude coming in with these this 2018 African American history calendar with Barack Hussein Obama on the front.
Yeah.
Had he come to me before I realized that, I'd be like, yo, bro, I'm not even. I'm
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But because of where I am now, it's like, okay, all right, what's up? Man, me and this brother had the deepest conversation. He was selling these for $5 a piece. He's going to school at, I think, Hampton, something like that.
Oh, okay.
Something like that. I forgot all that because I got lost in the sauce of the conversation. We had the deepest conversation. We start talking about the condition of black people.
Right.
And we started talking about, one of the things we started talking about was how slavery was quote unquote abolished, 1863. And in some places, depending on where you was in the South, it wasn't until 1865. Right. So let's go with 1863 to 2018. That means that we have only been free for 155 years. That's yesterday, man.
Yeah.
That's yesterday. And then at least about 50 years was like Jim Crow, which was like, what, semi-slavery?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we're talking white-only water fountain.
Yeah, segregation.
All right.
Yeah, because you had whites only bathrooms and color only bathrooms. And then, colored people sit in the back. And,
So that's another 50 years. So, slavery has never really ended. It just changed form.
Right. And some people almost live to be 100. And you said 150 something years from, man, you put that in perspective, man. That's wild.
Actually, segregation really wasn't that bad for us. We're talking like what, the Negro League?
Yep.
We had our own shit popping.
Yep.
I mean, and the Negro League, that's just one league. There's a crap load of leagues.
Yeah.
Crap load of black leagues.
Yeah.
So me and his brother talk. Yo, I ain't gonna front. Like, we paused a minute after we talked about how that shit was yesterday.
Yeah.
We paused a minute. And I ain't gonna front, man. I almost wept. Like, I teared up almost.
Yeah.
I was like, damn. Are we really worried about the wrong thing? Because racism, white supremacy won't end. It can't end for white people. It can't end. And of course, if it does end, then of course they're not supreme anymore.
Correct.
But it can't end. What if it's genetic? What if genetically it's in their best interest that the system of white supremacy stays in effect? Right? You always hear white supremacists always talking about things like, the pure Aryan race, the pure white race. Pure, meaning untampered. When I think of 100% pure orange juice, I'm thinking, there's no fructose, no none of that shit. Matter of fact, buy yourself some orange juice, 100% orange juice, right? And then turn it over and look at the ingredients. Guess what it's going to say? 100% orange juice.
Yeah.
They need pure white blood. Look at their skin. I'm just being honest here. I'm not here talking greasy about nobody. We're just speaking for real. Look at their skin, the pigment. Now, black child, black man, black woman, whoever's listened to this, look at your skin.
let me say this, and if I'm going a little bit off topic, then you brothers forgive me, but I can't stress this enough, and this is no offense to our sisters out there, but don't get it twisted. The black man is the most valued commodity in this society. Matter of fact, fuck society in this world. And I say that to say, when these sports leagues or anything, when they want to make money, they always use a black face. I mean, when you hear cats talk about the next, we need the next big world heavyweight champion in the boxing game, they're talking about a black man. The black man is the most valued commodity in this world. They bring in the most revenue as far as money, businesses. If you want to sell something, you're gonna use the black man. I mean, as long as he can articulate himself pretty well and have some type of knowledge on him, you're gonna use the black man. I mean, we're the most valued commodity in this world. Don't ever get that twisted. I don't care what they say. It's the black man. I mean, when you look at the NBAs, the NFLs, boxing, I mean, I guess with the exception of hockey and baseball, but NBA and football, those are two most dominant sports leagues in the world. They target the black man in both leagues. They target the black man.
I agree with the importance of the black man, but to say that the black man is most important, I don't know. I might be a little indifferent to that, because the black man doesn't have the ability to. Well, let me stop. The black man doesn't have the ability to carry a child, but the black man is instrumental in creating the child, but he can't create it without the woman.
Of course not.
You understand? Without the woman's womb.
Of course not.
And like Malcolm said, the first person that the child learns from is the mother.
But when it comes to teachings and how to control your emotions, you have to get that from your father.
But controlling your emotions?
Controlling your emotions, the teachings, how to conduct yourself, you have to get that from your father. Because a female, you can only go so far. A female can only teach, especially a young black man. She can only do so much with that, because I mean, I see it today. The way a young black man may act, when you see him acting very, 9 times out of 10, his home is dominated, by a sister. And let me say this is no disrespect, to the sisters out here. I mean, I love y'all, but I'm just saying, some of this stuff starts from home, and that's why we need more black men in the home too.
Okay, now when you said some of it starts at home, now see, that's where the black woman comes in at.
True.
See, because while the brother is out, in the gym, mastering his craft, this, that, and the third, who's at home when them noses are running?
That's true.
And them bowels is moving.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
That's true.
And
that's true.
When there's something special, like, okay, this is a one for your father if she's got a boy. You understand? And then even if there's a young lady, certain things are still for the father.
Yeah.
This young lady, the young black female may need some a perspective from her father.
Right.
In fact, that's the young black girl that her father is her first boyfriend, if you will.
That's why I always.
So it's so real quick, not to cut you off. Just let me get this off real quick. Just like a mother should be a boy's first girlfriend, first black girlfriend, and your first black boyfriend if it's a black girl. I just don't know if I can put most important on either one. I mean, you can, and then you made a real good case in terms of justifying that. My thing is, I don't know if it's a most, because some people may say, including myself, may say, because I'm quick to tell a young brother, yo, protect your sperm.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I heard that a foolish woman will produce foolish children.
Agreed.
So,
Agreed.
While the brother is out doing what he got to do, that child is at home with moms.
Yeah.
And if moms is weak, if moms don't know who she is, and I mean, I'm talking knowledge of self. If moms don't know who she is, who are you talking to when you come back home from the road, from playing sports, from the playoffs? Who are you talking to? You talking to, well, Prince and Princess? Or are you talking to some heathen that's been sitting watching BET all day? You know what I'm saying? You watching Bad Girls Club, Basketball Wives, Black Ink, and all that shit. Is that your son? Is that your child? So I don't know. I would have to say that they both are important, because now the black man's sperm has the ability to wipe out nations, man, and turn them all black.
Yeah.
Both are strong. Both are threats. Could that be the reason why?
No.
So, well, it's obvious that practicing group economics, while it's something that we definitely need to get into doing as a community, not just some of us, but as a people. Then it's pretty much safe to say that racism, white supremacy won't end. It's like the war on drugs. That war will never be won. It's like the war on prostitution. That war will never be won. I mean, look at the Black Panther Party for self-defense. I mean, how they did, however, raise black consciousness, but it didn't erase white supremacy. Huey wanted to ban with certain white organizations, not let them in the party, but he wanted to become allies with certain white groups, because he figured, everybody hated the establishment, the man. Everybody was being oppressed, and of course, Stokely Carmichael tried to talk him out of working with white people, because he said at some point they'll alienate some of the black people and they'll take over the movement. He thought that the young whites, become allies with them, and the both of them could, challenge the establishment. But Stokely Carmichael was right. He found that out. Take the Nation of Islam, for example. I mean, check them out. They got schools, universities, businesses. They don't even have to worry about going to school with white folk. They don't have to worry about being, improperly taught about black history. I tell you one thing, you know how like the Chinese, Japanese, the Irish, Jewish, the Arabs, and so forth, they're not worried about half the shit that goes on, because, they've come to realize that, they're saying to themselves, we all we got. So that's what they do. They practice group economics and they got their whole thing popping off.
It wasn't what was we talking about, that the great Muhammad Ali was like, the red birds should be with the red birds and blue birds would be with the blue birds.
Yeah. Definitely. That's true.
Yeah, all that culture, see, they all just stuck together.
And we're the only ones who don't do that.
Yeah. And then too, not to cut you off, then too, we don't trust one another, but we'll trust a different race. I don't know why that is, but it's always been like that ever since I've been living. We so quick to put our trust in somebody from a different race than ourselves.
See, back in the day, while everybody was talking about Brown versus the Board of Education, Nation of Islam wasn't worried about that. Brown versus the Board of Education was pretty much black kids being able to go to the same schools as white kids. Nation of Islam wasn't worried about that. In fact, they didn't even want to go to school with white kids. They wanted to teach their own kids.
I'm down for if especially us blacks start putting our kids into homeschooling than to send them out to regular school.
I just got word that there's a ban in California where they're trying to to make homeschooling illegal.
Oh wow.
Like, I mean, but who? Meaning, if your child don't go to school, then they gonna be wondering where the fuck is your child. That's some bullshit, man. You can't even homeschool your own kid. Well, you'd have to move from California.
Yeah.
I would consider moving big time, unless it's something federal, which I doubt. But I would have to leave California. But I agree with you though.
Yeah.
In fact, my sister, she homeschooled. I'm not sure. My oldest nephew, or if it's one of, but I know she did do some homeschooling and it worked out pretty well. I believe it was my oldest nephew, and it worked out pretty well.
That's good.
You know, and you know, when he went back to school, he was a little more advanced than the rest of the kids, because you know there's that one-on-one interaction, which is why classrooms was like a teacher that's got a smaller classroom.
Right.
You know, the children learn better because instead of her attention is being scattered with like 15, 20 kids, it's just on that maybe 6 or 7.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
In fact, here's another example of that. When I first started the Skill Youth Chess Club, I started it off with like 4 to 6 kids. One of the kids, he stopped coming. Here's why. He stopped coming because when it was just like 4 to 6 of them, there was more, I guess, one-on-one time because it wasn't as many kids. So that was cool, and he really enjoyed that. But as the club grew, it wasn't, you know what I mean? Like he couldn't feel the same
bond was
across to other, to other brothers as well. So he became uninterested in the club because he no longer had that one-on-one. He had to share me for the most part. And of course, he didn't necessarily articulate these things verbally to me, but I did see some change in his behavior. But his mom articulated things of that nature. So it's crazy. You know, maybe if we focused on teaching our own and doing for our own, then we wouldn't even be worried about white supremacy. It's not going nowhere. It's not going anywhere. Let's be more patient with one another, and let's worry about ourselves. Let's worry about us. Stop worrying about Trump. I said this before. Stop worrying about all that shit. Things you eat. And by the way, when I say diet, I don't just mean your food. I mean the things you watch on TV. I mean the things you click on Instagram. The videos you watch on YouTube. The company you keep. All kinds of things. Yeah. You should give up chitlins and bacon and shit. I mean, a movie can become part of you. That's for real. A movie can do that. A song can do that. I'm not going to say that you're totally stupid because a song influenced you. Because 9 times out of 10, it was probably already in you. But, certain things can coerce us to do things that we know aren't necessarily good for us. Even adults can be impressionable. So diet is not just exclusive to food. It's the TV shows that we watch. If I had a daughter, I wouldn't let my daughter watch like Bad Girls Club and shit like that. I wouldn't let her watch that. I just wouldn't do that. But end of the day, white supremacy is still around. And unless we can come up with an effective way to dismantle it, our focus should be on us. Protecting each other from agents of white supremacy, and building and teaching our children. Word up. Word. Listen, I want to go over something real quick about police interaction. Like, how should we conduct ourselves with law enforcement? I'm not saying in any form or fashion that this will, make police like us and treat us fairly. No, I'm not saying that. I am not blind to the fact that an agent of white supremacy, which I call a cop that's quick to shoot somebody black, when they ready to get it popping, it don't matter how it really doesn't matter what you do. The best we can do rather, is look for the signs. Look for the signs of a cop who's quick to pull a trigger and try to comply as much as possible. And when that's not possible, I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't have the answers for that. I could say when death is imminent, do what you gotta do. At this particular point in time in my development, that's the best advice I could give in terms of that. I can tell you about some of the things you could do to not escalate the situation.
Facts.
Not to say that would help. It's just, some tips, something we could do to minimize the chances of being possibly shot and killed or harmed by law enforcement.
And don't get it twisted, don't believe in that title they say, police are here to protect and serve. Don't believe that. They're here to, in my opinion, just to take out the trash.
Damn.
I ain't falling for that. I ain't here to, protect and serve. They're here just to take out the trash. But again, still conduct yourself in the best manner that you possibly can, so they won't, because they're already on the edge. They're already uneasy when, they have you in handcuffs or anything like that. Don't get mad where they're looking for a suspect and they end up handcuffing you because you fit the description, and then when they ask you for your identification, you ain't got no type of identification on you. So don't get mad when they can't identify who you are and they put you in jail for several hours just to confirm that you are who you say you are. Don't get mad. If you're in a club, an all-black club, and shots rang out and cops had to come to the scene, and when they come in the building, they tell everybody to get down on the floor. Don't be that brother who gets up and starts running out the building, because now at that time they're gonna start chasing you.
I guess another thing we also should consider, if you're driving along and you like to drive and smoke, police pull you over and they smell weed, my man, that's probable cause. You're gonna take a trip. And if you don't take a trip, you got yourself a court date. All right. So those are a couple of don'ts. I want to read just a couple things from y'all, to y'all rather, that Huey wrote back in the day in his book called Revolutionary Suicide. This is on page 167. He calls it the pocket lawyer of legal first aid. All right, I'm just going to read a couple of these. Some of these things still apply. This is one of the ways of how to conduct yourself should you find yourself in a situation to where you're about to be arrested by law enforcement, police. Number one, if you are stopped and or arrested by the police, you may remain silent. You do not have to answer any question about alleged crimes. You should provide your name and address only if requested, although it is not absolutely clear that you must do so. But then do so, and at all times remember the Fifth Amendment. Number two, if a police officer is not in uniform, ask him to show his identification. He has no authority over you unless he properly identifies himself. Beware of persons posing as police officers, and always get his badge number and his name. Number three, police have no right to search your car or your home unless they have a search warrant, probable cause, or your consent. They may conduct no exploratory search, that is, evidence of a crime, generally for evidence of a crime unconnected with the one you're being questioned about. Thus, a stop for an auto violation does not give the rights to search the auto. You are not required to give consent to a search, therefore you should not consent and should state clearly and unequivocally that you do not consent in front of witnesses if possible. If you do not consent, the police will have the burden in court of showing probable cause. Arrest may be corrected later. There was nothing about resist arrest or anything of that nature, but you don't have to let them in. Alright, number four, you may not resist forcibly or by going limp, even if you are innocent. To do so is a separate crime of which you can be convicted even if you are acquitted of the original charge. Do not resist arrest under any circumstances. Under any circumstances. Number 5, if you are stopped and or arrested, the police may search you by patting you on the outside of your clothing. You can be stripped of your personal possessions. Do not carry anything that includes the name of your employer or friends. Number 6, do not engage in friendly conversation with officers on the way or at the station. Once you are arrested, there's little likelihood that anything you say will get you released. Listen, man, that's all I'm going to read right there. Just some of the preliminaries. Don't fight the cops if you don't have to. Just comply as much as possible. Like I said, it won't stop them. You have a right to an attorney. You make your phone call and so on and so forth. You got anything you want to add?
Nah, you said it better than I could.
Word. One more thing, man, before we get out of here. Just want to ask you all, what is your purpose? What is your purpose, man? Or should I say, what brings you happiness? I would say if you don't know what your purpose is, take a moment in the quiet, close your eyes, and just sit there and think. If it's got anything to do with things, you're probably not really happy. Because you can have a house full of things and be miserable.
Yeah, facts.
You know what I'm saying? Just like you was talking about the Last Dragon.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, dig deep within.
Yeah.
You'll find it. You'll find it, man.
I know one of the things that brings me happiness is I like helping people.
Word, service.
I like helping somebody in need. I like giving back. That's one of the things that brings me happiness. Somebody may not be as fortunate as I am. I like to, help them with anything that I possibly can.
Word up. Word. Once again, before we get out of here, another shout out to Skill Youth Chess Club. Once again, if you'd like to make a donation, the site is paypal.me/Skill the Barbershop. I'd like to give another special shout out to Thomas Nelson Community College, particularly the African American Male Student Alliance. I look forward to March 26th and getting down and breaking bread with these young brothers and sisters and preparing them for the future. And I look forward to that, man. You want to tell the people where they can reach you, where they can find you?
You can reach me on the gram. As coolassross. You want to holler at me. I want to thank Brother Rashidi from having me. I also want to dedicate my first podcast to my father who passed away last year. He was battling cancer, so I want to dedicate this show to him and want to tell him that I love him, and I just want to say, thank you for raising me into the man I am today, and I'm going to do the same if I ever, have kids as well.
Word, that's heavy. I am King Rashidi. This is Hoodies.
Peace.
Hoodies. Welcome to the podcast, and y'all ass, what I'ma talk about with y'all ass, everything, from Nostradamus, slow pump, all the way down to Donald Trump, but black issues will be always at the forefront. Hoodies, I know that's just what y'all want, black life, black love, all of the above, it's King Rashidi, hoodies, isotone the gloves, I'm ready, it's Rod Scott Kings, rest in peace to the God Queens, hoodies.